In Climate Watch, the Trump administration is trying to remove climate change as an environmental barrier in major infrastructure projects. The administration has been aggressive in its efforts to roll back environmental regulations. The National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, has been one of its targets. Proposed changes would limit projects that require an environmental review, simply allowing more major projects to proceed without them. Lisa Friedman joins me now to talk more about her reporting. She is a climate change reporter for the New York Times. Lisa, thanks very much for being with us. Briefly tell us about the proposed changes to the National Environmental Policy Act and the impact on climate change if it is finalized.
Sure. The White House, perhaps as early as tomorrow, is going to roll out some major changes to what is really the nation's bedrock environmental law, NEPA. And among the many changes that will be in this proposed regulation will be to limit will be two major things. One will be to limit the types of projects that receive an environmental review, and the other revolves around climate change. When it comes to climate change, the administration will essentially tell federal agencies that they do not have to consider the impacts of climate change when they are reviewing the environmental consequences of big infrastructure projects.
So in practical terms, does that mean that this could clear the way potentially for some major projects that have been halted?
Clear the way might be a little too, it might not go as far as that, but it certainly removes some major barriers. If we take something like the Keystone Pipeline, for example, a very controversial project that President Obama tried to halt and President Trump has been intent on seeing come to fruition. A federal judge not long ago told the Trump administration, hey, under NEPA, under this law, you were supposed to explain what the consequences of this pipeline will be on climate change, and you failed to do that. With this change, if it is finalized and if it is held up in court, that could remove that barrier, though in the case of the Keystone Pipeline, of course, there are many legal challenges along the route.
Well, what is the administration's argument behind downplaying climate concerns in these proposed changes to the act?
Sure. Well, I will say that when it comes to the specifics, climate change, the administration hasn't responded yet. We have not seen the details, but I've been told and have had it described to me by government officials who have seen the details. But what they have said in similar instances, recently the administration weakened protections for endangered species and constricted the ways that climate change could be considered there. And their argument there, and we're told that it will be very similar in this case, is that it is difficult to know. It's impossible to know the impacts of climate change 20, 40, 80 years out. Scientists say differently. They say that it is indeed impossible to know both the impact of a project on the climate and also the effect of climate change on a given project. Not only will this affect the thinking around what impact a project has on rising emissions, but let's say a highway is being built or expanded in a coastal area. If this goes through, it's likely that an agency will not have to consider what rising sea levels may mean for a project like that, potentially, wasting untold amount of money if that project is a failure or is submerged years to come.
Right, potentially some major implications here. Lisa Friedman, Lisa, thank you very much.
Thank you.